This episode will cover how to recognize our built-in resistance to change, why it persists, and how to manage it to allow you to turn on your creativity. You know, every society is based on some accepted rules and behaviors. As children, we have all been taught these rules, and our behavior has been shaped to follow them, usually. These rules and behaviors are essential for proper functioning of society, and these rules are good. We've received positive and negative reinforcement for good and bad behavior, respectively. And over some time, we settle into this habitual, acceptable behavior, and in the back of our minds, the punishments of rule breakers are remembered and avoided. And this is also good. It creates good citizens within a good society. Those rules and that consistent behavior become ingrained, and those can block us from purposefully unleashing our creativity. As a side effect, we learn subconsciously to limit our creativity because we associate radical thinking with bad behavior and rule breakage. We need to realize this false association and free ourselves to think outside of the box. I hear people say, "I'm just not the creative type." I think you can be. I believe creativity can be taught to all. There is a science here that can be understood. And I'm going to go into some of that science today. So it's your ego that tells you, stay the course and stay away from risk or change. I need to introduce right now a technical topic called neuroplasticity. It is responsible for the wiring in our brains. When we learn a skill and we practice it well, we're establishing synaptic pathways within our brains that make it easy to reproduce the skill at will. A myelin sheath covers that pathway, which locks it into place. And we become creatures of habit because it's easier to reuse these same synaptic pathways over and over again. When we see something new, like Michael Jackson's moonwalk, we are intrigued, amazed, and entertained. And some of us take up the challenge to learn to moonwalk as well. It makes us special. And some of us try to moonwalk and we fall. And we try again and we fall again. You see, we must develop this new synaptic pathways as we practice. The motivation to continue to try until it's conquered is the realization that we will gain this new special skill, and that feeds our ego so we feel good about ourselves. So let's try a new skill. Now, it's not the moonwalk, but it's something that you can do right now while you're watching this video. You can hold up one finger, your forefinger, on one hand, hold it up. You can draw it in and push forward, and then up, and then forward, and you can repeat this. Okay, you can do this. We all have those synaptic pathways established that teach us how to use our fingers. Now, if you do both hands, you can do the same exercise, up, in, forward, right? You can repeat this, and you can say, yeah, you can do this one as well. Now let's do the same exercise, the same movement on one hand. So the same one, opposite fingers, in and switch, in and switch. You might think, okay, now that's getting a little bit harder, but you know, with practice, you will be able to do that. Okay, so now let's try both hands. In, switch. You see, I've learned how to do this. And if you're a guitarist or pianist and you have a lot of those synaptic pathways established, you haven't done exactly this exercise, chances are you'll pick it up very quickly. You'll be able to do that exercise. Others will have to practice a little bit longer because you're not used to it. You see, new things take practice, and but these are exercises that you can conquer, and that means you can conquer many things. It's a matter of practice and building up a skill. And I believe you can become creative with practice. It takes a different kind of practice, but you can do it. Now let's reflect for a minute on your level of courage that you felt as you demonstrated this finger exercise. What if you had to do that finger exercise in front of a group or in front of a video? You know, without practice, you may feel foolish, and that feeling is not well received by your ego. It tells you, stop that. Don't do that. It tells you, reuse your existing synaptic pathways because they're reliable, and you will succeed well enough. You see, succeeding well enough equals survival. You make slow but incremental good progress towards your goal. Your failures are smaller and less painful and less embarrassing. You will take less risk and you spend less effort and less time. But this is survival. And you have to ask yourself, do you want more than that? Ask yourself, how painful is it to be wrong or to fail? Is your fear of failure greater than your fear of success? You see, you can survive failure better than you can survive mediocrity. Failure will bruise your ego. Mediocrity will kill your spirit. Take the unknown path occasionally. Be open to try it. The worst that can happen is not as bad as you think, and you'll see some of those failures as learning opportunities, nothing worse. So once we get past ourselves, we have to now face the second form of resistance to change, convincing other people. Convincing others simply requires additional investment on your part. You need to be ready for that. Your reputation for successful planning and execution will pave the way. People will take you seriously. But you see, there is a key difference between creativity and innovation. Creativity is the invention of new ideas. You can do that on your own or with a small group of people. Innovation takes it to the next step. It's the creation and the development of a new product, process, or service. And so you need more buy-in from a larger group of people in order to take it to that innovation level where it is more effective. And we need to go there. Creativity by itself is fun, but the end goal is to change the world. And so you need to take it to that next step of innovation. Convincing others can be frustrating when your enthusiasm is met with resistance. This frustration is alleviated with the insight that all people have this natural tendency to stay the course, to take the known road often, to reuse existing synaptic pathways. See, we're all built the same. And when we recognize our own resistance to change, we just simply need to then recognize others have it as well. People place different importance or weightings on their needs. And I will teach more about this in a future episode. But for now, recognize that you must put some energy into your idea, and your passion must be felt. Like-minded people are easy to convince. And neutral or conservative people may be harder to convince, but you do your homework and you will win them over. Newton's first law of motion applies here. An object will not change its motion unless a force acts on it. So you have to be ready to invest that energy, that force, and create a discussion and create that activity. and I will teach more on how to do that later. There is a third type of resistance to change, and it is the amount of work required from you to bring the idea to fruition. The mountain of work looks tall, and we need to commit ourselves, we need to invest our time, and spend emotional energy that takes the first few steps. You have to prepare yourself for it. You have to strengthen yourself. Do you have the stamina for this undertaking? Do you have passion for it? Do you believe in it? Do you believe that you can accomplish it? You see, this is the unknown road. We take some courage and go down it once in a while. This third type of resistance to change may be the greatest challenge of all. The psychological barrier of ambiguity is demotivating because you won't know whether the effort is really worthwhile until it is finished or further down the road when the fruit begins to show of your efforts. So you need to begin that going down the unknown road with that ambiguity in place. You see, many investors will look beyond the great product idea to assess whether the team behind the idea has the fortitude to deliver it. I'll show you this table that is the result of the 100-meter dash world record. The 100-meter dash was thought to have a minimum achievable time of 10 seconds. That was the human limitation. What was possible? In the 1960 to 1968, the record was tied right around that 10-second mark. And then a breakthrough was achieved. And once it was broken, new records pushed the limit well below 10 seconds. You see, there is a psychological limit that will hold you back unless you recognize and question everything. And yes, you can do it. I hope this video episode has given you many things to contemplate about yourself and provided some insight on why it's difficult to achieve change. Recognize that most people are not opposed to the change that you want to make. Rather, they simply are fighting their own resistance to change. Thanks for your time and attention. Let's change ourselves first and then change the world.